WADR.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 p.m. in Porto Novo. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Catholics worldwide celebrate the election of a new pope as white smoke billows from Sistine Chapel. Political parties in Mali vow to fight back as the transitional government suspends the activities ahead of Friday's demonstration.
But the abolition of political parties is unconscionable. It's undemocratic. We are defending our constitution, democracy, and Mali's progress. There are forces who want to take us back perhaps 60 or 40 years. We completely disagree.
Police in the Gambia arrest protesters demanding an audit for the sale of Yaya Jammeh's properties. And Ghana's President Mahama takes stock of his government as he clocks 120 days in office.
I promise to scrap the e-levy, the COVID levy, the 10% levy on bet winnings, and the emissions levy within my first 90 days in office. We have delivered on 3 of these 4 specific tax repeals as promised.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in the sub-region and beyond. Newslink begins with some latest development from the Vatican as the Papal Conclave has chosen a new pope in the person of Robert Provost of the U.S. He becomes the first American pontiff in history, and he will be known as Pope Leo XIV. White smoke billowed from the chimney or in the Sistine Chapel on Thursday, confirming that the voting cardinals had chosen a pope to succeed the late Pope Francis. Large crowds celebrated the news in St. Peter's Square as the world waited patiently for the new identity of the pontiff as he addressed the crowd with blessings. Prevost is aged 69 from Chicago, is a leader with global experience, and he spent much of his career as a missionary in South America and served as bishop in Peru. He also recently led a powerful Vatican office for bishop appointments, and he is expected to build on Pope Francis's reforms. Back here in the Sahel, particularly in Mali, tensions continue to build up between political parties and the ruling military over their dissolution, following recommendations from the recent national consultation organized by the state. The transitional authorities suspended the operation of political parties and associations on Wednesday. The suspension is until further notice, according to a decree issued by the Council of Ministers. The ministry or the military says the measure is aimed at restoring public order, an argument rejected by the political players who have vowed to lead the street demonstration in the capital tomorrow, Friday, May 9th, 2025, with clear messages to demand their dissolution and call for immediate end of military transition. Augustine Colley has the reactions in this report.
The political parties were expecting this decision without much surprise. All their activities are now suspended until further notice throughout the country. This decision was taken by presidential decree on Wednesday following the Council of Ministers, which, according to the government, aims to maintain public order. The decree was announced on state broadcaster ORTM. Alassane Abba, Secretary General of the Convergence for the Development of Mali Abdi Party believes that this measure has no other objective than to destroy political parties.
We knew perfectly well that Wednesday would be decisive. We already knew they were going to implement this measure. They already did it once. It paid off. This time, it's about completely killing the political parties, putting them to death. And I don't think the political parties and associations really want to sit back and wait for their deaths. I don't think so at all.
Why the National Transitional Council is expected to rule in the coming days on the bill to abolish the parties, political actors do not intend to give in.
But the abolition of political parties is unconscionable, entirely unconscionable. It's undemocratic, and we don't see how it could even be considered or supported by anyone. So it's completely different. Because today, this measure simply aims to prepare the ground to prevent political parties from reacting until the axe falls, until the law is ready, until it passes the National Council. That's out of the question. We will know what we can do. We are defending our constitution, democracy, and Mali's progress. There are forces who want to take us back perhaps 60 or 40 years. We completely disagree.
This decision comes as a demonstration by political parties is planned for tomorrow Friday at the Independence Square to denounce their dissolution and demand an end to the transition. Last year, the transitional authorities suspended political activities for 3 months for reasons of public order.
A report by WADR Salio Chairman, voiced by Augustin Colley. Still in Mali and on issues of the upcoming demonstration, the government has provided clarifications following the suspension of parties and the association activities until further notice. During the press conference, the Malian Minister of Communication explained the reasons for the suspension of the political party and association activities. Alhamdou Ag-Iyeni reassured that the measure is temporary. Here is the Malian Minister of Communications.
The
message is first to inform them that this suspension was imposed by current circumstances, namely, first and foremost, security circumstances. You are well aware that the Sahel and our country are going through a period of high terrorist activity. There are also the needs to preserve social peace and public order, which are the government's responsibility. The transitional president gave clear instructions to inform the press and communications community so that they can educate the people by all means at this disposal. We are working at the government level with our people so that we can truly get out of this situation as quickly as possible. Article 39 of the Constitution requires a law, and it is a law that will lead to the organization of political parties. The government recently made decisions to repeal the party charter and the status of the opposition leader. The government is on the fence. Today, we have already begun the listening phase at the CNT level so that a law can be passed as soon as possible to reorganize the political parties and national political life so that it is more appropriate and more consistent with the interests of the Malian people.
Malian Minister of Communication Alhamdou Ag-Iyeni. Moving on, 6 months before Côte d'Ivoire's 2025 presidential election, the government has approved a request to modify Article 51 of the Electoral Code. This article mandates that each presidential candidate must present a list of voters willing to endorse their candidacy, requiring support from 1% of the local electorate in at least 50% of the autonomous districts and regions. Speaking after the Council of Ministers on Wednesday, the government spokesperson justifies its significance. Abdullah Hassan completes the story.
Article 51 of the Electoral Code, as government spokesperson Amadou Coulibaly reiterated, requires all presidential candidates to provide a list of voters who have agreed to endorse their candidacy. This endorsement must represent at least 1% of the local electorate in at least 50% of the constituencies, including the 2 autonomous districts, namely Abidjan and Yamoussoukro, and in the 31 regions. However, since this provision came into effect, the national territory has been reorganized into 14 autonomous districts. According to the government, this reform aims to clarify the legal framework for electoral endorsements. Amadou Coulibaly adds that the new text stipulates that the candidate must now garner 1% of the electorate in 50% of the districts and regions, with the exception of the 12 newly created districts. This change comes as Jacob Mamadou Coulibaly, president of the Alliance for Democracy and Peace, has filed a lawsuit against the Ivorian government before the ECOWAS Court of Justice, seeking to have the citizen sponsorship requirement annulled. In response to this initiative, the government spokesperson defended the system, arguing that it contributes to strengthening the democratic foundations of the presidential election.
Abdullah Hassan filed the reports.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has touted his administration's early achievements, vowing to lay a strong foundation for resetting the country. Mahama cited key actions including running a lean government, scrapping the e-levy, tackling illegal mining as signs of result-driven leadership focused on transparency, accountability and agency. The Ghanaian leader disclosed this during a national address delivered on May 7, 2025, after the completion of his 120 days in office. From Accra, Nadi Data reports.
President John Dramani Mahama says his government is laying a strong and decisive foundation to reset Ghana and build the future Ghanaians desire. In a national address on Wednesday night, the president gave an account of his first 120 days in office, highlighting achievements. In a national address Wednesday night, the president gave an account of his first 120 days in office, highlighting achievements he says reflect a new era of transparency, accountability, efficiency and urgency.
Central to this plan was a social contract for the first 120 days. To the people of Ghana and the world observing our progress, let me state clearly, we made promises and we have kept them. Among the key actions taken, President Mahama outlined the formation of a lean government, the introduction of a robust code of conduct, the removal of burdensome taxes, job creation initiatives, and efforts to clamp down on illegal mining and environmental degradation. I promise to scrap the e-levy, the COVID levy, the 10% levy on bet winnings, and the emissions levy within my first 90 days in office. These expenditure measures were central to our 2025 budget statement. We have delivered on 3 of these 4 specific tax repeals as promised. While optimistic about the gains made so far, the president emphasized the road ahead remains long, calling on Ghanaians from all walks of life to rally around a shared national vision. I take my promises seriously, and my word is my bond. Although we've established a solid foundation in this first 120 days, considerable work remains on the journey to realize the Ghana we all want together. The president ended his speech with a renewed pledge to honor the mandate given to him and work tirelessly for the good of every citizen. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
In the Gambia, the National Police has arrested about 10 protesters from the youth-led movement known in the Gambia as the Gambians Against Looted Assets Gala. Their arrest stems from the violation of a police ban on their protest to demand transparency and details from the government about the sales of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh. Pictures and videos on social media platforms showed young people being transported to a police headquarters in Banjul in an open truck. Umar Sebu is a spokesperson of the social movement, and he told press conference in Banjul that the group will proceed with the march despite the ban until authorities clarify the matter.
They have already arrested a group of people who first came. These are people that are protesting against the way the former President Jammeh's assets were sold. For them, they are requesting for the government to release the full list of the people that bought these assets, but also who are the people who sold it and how much were they sold. So these are the things that they are not happy with. So the first group actually came in the morning, and the police came and arrested all of them. Among the prominent people that are arrested is Tirfo Bayosongo, who is a politician, and also you have Omar Saibo Jr. They were arrested by the police and taken to the police headquarters in Banjul. So the second group is already here. They are also protesting, and they are led by Faluk Gras Jr. Sise. But they are also here. What they are saying is they will continue protesting until they are also arrested. Now the second group is here protesting. So the police has already they just arrived here to pick up, just arrived here right now. So and they're coming off their vehicles. Yes, they are going to effect arrest, it seems like right now.
So it means like it seems like the second group are also being arrested as we speak.
Yes, the second group, they are about to arrest the second group right now. Right.
And that's Umar Saibo, the spokesperson for the social movement, in an earlier conversation with my colleague Sankole Janko. Now, recall that an investigative report had alleged corruption, abuse of office, and lack of due process in the handling of these asset sales. The government, through the Ministry of Justice, acknowledged that the sales of Jammeh's properties had commenced under the set procedures, but promised to investigate their claims. Moving on to some economy-related developments, the federal government of Nigeria recently approved procurement policy mandating the consumption of locally produced goods is receiving support. The Nigerian Employers Consultative Association NECA, representing more than 4,000 businesses in the country, has thrown its weight behind this framework. The initiative, introduced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, seeks to enhance domestic manufacturing and decrease reliance on imports. Francis Boniface reports.
NECA, in a statement on Wednesday, said it endorses the Buy Made in Nigeria procurement policy, which requires a prioritization of local products in public sector acquisitions. This policy is introduced in the context of Nigeria's economic difficulties, including a 24.23% inflation rate as of March 2025. The Nigerian government aims to strengthen small and medium-scale businesses, which contribute 48% to the nation's economic output and employs more than 80% of the workforce, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. NECA's Director General Adewale Smart-Oyerinde described it as a strategic economic policy, stressing that the Buy Made in Nigeria products policy will alleviate pressure on foreign exchange reserves, stimulate local industry, and protect jobs. He, however, cautioned that the success of this policy depends on strict enforcement, warning that without consistent implementation, it risks becoming another unfulfilled promise. In 2011, former President Goodluck Jonathan launched a similar project, the Proudly Nigerian Initiative, designed to promote and support locally produced goods and services within the country. However, a change of government and shifting political attention saw the initiative lose momentum.
Francis Boniface filed the reports. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. We're also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube at WADR News. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Catholics worldwide celebrate the election of a new pope as white smoke billows from the Sistine Chapel. Political parties in Mali vow to fight back as the transitional government suspend their activities ahead of Friday's demonstration. Police in the Gambia arrest protesters demanding an audit of the sales of Yahya Jammeh's properties. And Ghana's President Mahama takes stock of its government as he clocks 120 days in office. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, has launched a new initiative aimed at fostering engagement between government officials and citizens. The initiative, aimed Government Town Hall and subtitled Let's Talk About It, was officially launched on Wednesday, and it will take effect in all of Liberia's 15 counties. The objective is to establish a platform where government ministers and heads of states can interact directly with citizens nationwide discussing various development projects. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
Speaking at the launch of the initiative, Liberia's Foreign Minister Sarah Beslo-Yanti underscored the significance of collaboration in promoting national unity and development.
They talk today that we're talking. It's about how all of us can work together to build Liberia. Liberia must rise, and we'll tell Liberia's story. Can't let talk. It's not just about getting to say, oh, government doing everything perfect. No, it's about how we feel it's supposed to be in Plibo.
For his part, Information Minister Jerome Pia turned the launch of the government town hall initiative as a transformative approach aimed at enhancing popular engagement in governance.
A form of communication that is meant to bring the government closer to the public in a way that helps the people to engage with their leaders and better understand the policies and processes of governance.
The government town hall meeting, or Let's Talk About It, will be held in Liberia's 15 counties to enable an open discourse around societal and developmental issues. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker reporting from Monrovia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Joining us on the guest segment is Dr. Asa Asante, a political and public affairs analyst from Ghana. Dr. Asante, speaking with WADR, analyzes President John Dramani Mahama's statement last night about his government achievements and the first 120 days in office.
I think that so far he's done a yeoman's work by keeping faith to a lot of the promises he made during the campaign, that within the 120 days, he promised Ghanaians that he will be doing a number of things. In fact, he gave about 26 promises, and so far, so very good.
So far, so very good. He did praise his achievements, of course, during the course of this time, like you said, trying to fulfill his promises, likely launching projects. But the question is, does these projects equate the impacts on Ghanaian lives?
Obviously, the things he promised within the 120 days period are things that border on Ghanaian life generally. But there are some that are from short term to long term. But what he set out to do was to kickstart the whole governance process by creating a certain congenial atmosphere for the system to be built on subsequently. Take, for instance, he talked about trying to have his cabinet within 14 days. That was done in no time. Not only that, he promised of a lean government of 60, and he was able to do, I think, about 56 or so members. He talked about code of conduct and standards for all government officials, which was launched a few days ago. The good news about the code is that it is in tandem with the principles of good governance, which actually put emphasis on rules governing the administration of public office. There are a host of other things that the president has been able to achieve within this period, holding a national economic dialogue so that they can really assess the true state of the Ghanaian economy and see how they can prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program that will guide the budget from time to time. He promised of what? Abolishing certain taxes which he described as draconian, such as the electronic levy tax, such as COVID-19 levy, tax on bettings and emission tax. All of them have gone except the COVID levy, which government has made it abundantly clear that it is in tandem with arrangement with the World Bank. So they are trying to go around it. Other than that, that one would have also be gone by now. We have also seen instances where he promised a 24-hour economy. And as we speak now, they held a forum to discuss the economy, and out of which the president has detailed two groups of people who are looking at the economy in general and then those who are looking at what the 24-hour bit.
While he has done a lot, what should he really improve on? You just spoke about the 24 hours economy he promised, for example.
There are a lot of problems that needs attention of the state. There's no doubt about that. But what is so critical that nobody can sweep it under the carpet is the issue of the economy. That the economy is the decider of everything. When the economy fails, every other thing within the political space also fails.
And that's Dr. Asa Asante, a political and public affairs analyst in Ghana. And we can join Sankoli Janko for details in the world of sports.
In sports, Nigeria booked their place in the quarterfinals of the CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations with a hard 4-2 draw against Kenya at the 30 June Stadium in Cairo Wednesday. The result, coupled with Morocco's 3-1 win over Tunisia in the simultaneous Group B fixture, means Nigeria finished second in the group with 5 points, while Kenya exited the tournament with just 1 point from 3 matches. The West Africans, who had kept 2 clean sheets in their previous games, were meant to work harder than expected by a Kenyan side that showed attacking intent throughout the match. With the group stage now concluded, Morocco topped Group B with 7 points, followed by Nigeria 5 points, Tunisia 3 and Kenya 1. Nigeria will now shift focus to the quarterfinals, where they will face a yet-to-be confirmed opponent from another group. Elsewhere in Europe, French League champions Paris Saint-Germain PSG have secured a place in the final of the UEFA Champions League after a 2-1 victory over Arsenal on Wednesday. Goals from Fabian Ruiz gave PSG the lead before Achraf Hakimi scored the second to seal the victory for the Parisians. Bukayo Saka scored for Arsenal, but that only proved to be a consolation for the Gunners. PSG will take on Inter Milan, who defeated Barcelona in the other semi-final game on Tuesday. And that's it for sports.
And with that, we've come to the end of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umu Danyogo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's Environment Program Enviroscope with Abdullah Hassan. I am Christopher Aticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.